Hi, this is First Lady Brittany Bashir. I am excited to
I
help you
learned
celebrate
so
the
much from
dedication
you
of
about what it
Maryhurst's campus in honor of the wonderful Judy Lambeth. Everyone here tonight has witnessed the love and empathy that defines your leadership and knows there is no one more deserving of this honor. Judy, thanks to your 30 years of dedicated service, the lives of thousands of young women and families have been changed for the better. This community has been changed for the better. You have forged a new path forward for so many, one that is filled with hope and light. I am personally grateful to have witnessed your advocacy and leadership up close when I had the great honor of serving on Maryhurst's board of directors for 6 years. I learned so much from you about what it truly means to show up for others. Anyone who has worked with you knows how personally invested you were in the well-being and development of every girl who stepped foot on this campus. I was always humbled to see you interact with them and was never surprised when, no matter how many girls came under your care, you always seemed to know their names. This level of devotion showed up not only in the way you treated each individual at Maryhurst, both resident and staff, but it also showed up in how you took your advocacy on the road, establishing relationships throughout the region and in Frankfurt, using your heart and your talents to bring vital resources back to Maryhurst, which in turn has made this incredible organization a valuable resource in this community. We are so fortunate to have Maryhurst in Kentucky, serving as an example of what can happen when you invest in those who need it the most. And we know this organization would not be the pillar that it is without you today. It was my honor to work alongside you, and I am grateful that everyone
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm Melissa Swan. How is everyone tonight? Great. I want to thank everyone for being here. As you can see, we have a very, very nice crowd. This is a very special event, and I think our First Lady was the first one to call it Lambeth Campus, and so we're going to celebrate that tonight. Judy Lambeth has many, many, many admirers, as you can see, and I am certainly one of them. I first met Judy nearly 40 years ago. I know. During that time, I have marveled at her dedication and her love of Maryhurst. Over 4 decades, Judy has guided Maryhurst through expansion, successes, and some turbulent times. Through it all, Judy has always seemed unruffled by the challenges before her. And that's because she wasn't primarily concerned about herself. Her eyes, her heart were on and for the children she knew needed her help. Today, because of Judy, Maryhurst's reach is so much broader than it was when we first met. This campus is larger. There are programs for children before they are removed from their families, programs for teenagers and adults after they leave Maryhurst, and so many programs in between. Judy has dedicated her life's work to Maryhurst, and we cannot heap enough praise on her. But tonight, we're sure going to try. We want to begin tonight with the person who may have learned the most from Judy, and that is our current president and CEO, Paula Garner.
All right, good evening. It is so good to see everybody here. So yes, I want to make sure before we start talking about Judy that I recognize some folks. Lisa Manning is right here, and she is our board chair. She has been my co-pilot for this last couple of years, and it's been quite a ride, but she's been phenomenal. We also have many of our board of directors here tonight, and we've got a few folks who are virtual. But if you're here in person, if you'll just kind of wave, and I just want to acknowledge you all, yay! So during a transition of the kind of magnitude that we've had a couple years ago, something that really shows the strength of a board of directors. And I am so grateful to be able to say that our board did a masterful job with the transition, but also they've been strong, they've been committed, they are passionate, they have shown up for me and for our staff and our leaders and our kids through these last couple of years. So I'm very grateful to have opportunities just to publicly thank you all. So I'm now going to just say a few words about Judy, and I am honored and I feel privileged to be able to say this. There are not a whole lot of people who have invested as much in me or impacted me as greatly as Judy, both personally and professionally. I began working with Judy more closely probably about 5 years ago, and it was during this time that she broached the subject that I might want to consider succeeding her in this role as CEO. And I will say, speaking honestly, I was both deeply honored and a little overwhelmed to think about following in her footsteps, such a phenomenal, strong, and transformative leader. But as you can see, I'm here today, so that is a testament to how persuasive she can be. And I will tell you, this woman can talk anyone into anything, and I know that is one of her leadership secret weapons. And so it was really during the last year prior to her retirement that we worked very closely together, and I learned so much from her, and I continue to learn from her. But I affectionately call that last year her farewell tour, because we were out and we were about, and Judy received a number of very well-deserved awards. And I do remember this one award. She had to, she needed to identify a song that really depicted her leadership journey. And so she chose the song, the popular R&B song, Ain't No Mountain High Enough. And I remember thinking, that is such an appropriate song. So for those of you who know Judy well, she is an avid hiker. And so she literally does climb mountains for fun. But what you may not know is that it's also a good metaphor for the leadership that she has displayed over those 30 years. She certainly has had many mountain highs during that time. And one that comes to mind pretty quickly is the building and the opening of Madeline's Cottage, which is named after our beloved board member, community advocate, Madeline Abramson. We also launched our renewal program during her time, and there's been many, many celebrations, but Judy has also had really some valley moments. I mean, some really difficult times. I can think of some devastating funding cuts that she had to go through, and it was later that I learned that she stepped up on a personal level and made sure that Maryhurst could make payroll. Also led us through grieving and mourning the loss of some very beloved children and some staff members. And so really, as I watched her go through some of these things, I saw that no matter what the challenge was, that Judy continued to look at that summit. She continued, and as Melissa spoke to, she continued to think about, what is it that the community needs most from our agency in this moment? And that is what guided her. So I will say that after the last couple of years after her retirement, I have gained an all new appreciation for Judy. And I do want to say she's the best timing of anybody that I've ever known. And while she will swear that she did not plan her retirement to coincide with a worldwide pandemic and a subsequent historical labor shortage, I am not completely sure that I believe that. But really, I'm proud, and I just feel very proud to be able to say, as I look at our board, I look at the community and the support that you give us, and I look at our leaders, we have honored Judy's legacy, and we've been able to build on that in this last couple of years. A couple things that come to mind are the aftercare program. And you guys know that Judy's strong belief that children in the foster care system need to have support when they go back into the community. That's what led her to ask our community, and many of you all responded and helped us start our transitional living and aftercare services program. And I'm excited to be able to say we've served about 60 girls in that program so far. We've gotten some early outcomes that are very promising, and they show what we knew already, which was that our specialized treatment is very effective, but coupled with that support after kids leave, they will thrive. And so I'm very excited to continue in that program. That was Judy's retiring legacy campaign. Another highlight for us is our renewal counseling services program. And that is a program that aims ultimately to go beyond this campus, take our specialized services and take them directly to families to empower and strengthen families. So a child can stay in their family, in their community. We have served over 600 kids this year, kids and families in that program. And we have a waiting list of about 125. So that shows us that there is a huge need for that. And Maryhurst is absolutely committed to being part of the solution for our community's mental health crisis. So as I think about this and the ways that we have navigated, I'll go back to the mountain analogy, the ways that we've ascended over these last couple years, it is in great part because of Judy's legacy. She is the one that equipped this agency to be able to look at those summits and really look at the landscape ahead. She's the one that has taught us to fight those uphill battles because every child deserves a champion. And she is the one that has really shown us how important it is to do what is needed for the community. And I'm just so grateful to you. So very grateful. As I close out, I'm just very, very excited to start to refer to the campus as Lambeth campus, because every time I do, I'm going to remember what an amazing gift you are to this agency and you are to this community.
I said to someone just a few minutes ago that Paula had huge shoes to fill, and she stepped right in and she went with it, and she has been a wonderful CEO. Marcia Esri is here with us tonight, and as many times as I've been on the campus, she's always been here, I think. And she is perhaps the person who has worked alongside Judy the longest. Marcia has been there when those tough decisions needed to be made. She's been there to celebrate the successes and wants to tell us about those tonight. Marcia?
I'm better off. I'm going to go ahead and read because, for one, I'll lose my train of thought, and Patrick only gave me a few minutes. So, thank you all for being here tonight. What an incredible event, and a room filled with people who love and respect Judy, and like me, I dare say, are inspired and in awe of her. And as I said, I've been asked to speak briefly about Judy as a colleague and a boss, maybe share a story or two about programs we launched together, and Judy's leadership during key moments in the life of Maryhurst and child welfare in Kentucky. One of the first images I see when I think of Judy as a leader is her command of a group. I truly marvel at that command. Let's say, for instance, a group of leaders in child welfare. I can't tell you how many Children's Alliance meetings she and I attended where serious questions about the future of child welfare were discussed. Hard decisions had to be made about how to best advocate for our kids. There would be some complaining and discouragement and lots of uncertainty. And then Judy would speak. She didn't usually go on and on, would just speak to the issue at hand, confidently give her opinion, her position on the subject. and there would be a sense of relief and consensus. Yes, that's what we should do. It was a sight to see. Other ways to describe Judy's leadership, in addition to that command, words that describe her leadership. Some of my favorites: fearless, a rule breaker. There are some other stories that I shall not share tonight. How about that? Maybe in Detroit, maybe in Cincinnati. Once again, I would watch her in a state of awe get what she wanted, what we needed, through persistence and a little bit of Southern charm. If we needed more, she asked for more. She got more. Very small example. Let's say Maryhurst needed 8 slots for a Good Shepherd event or a conference, but we were only allotted, say, 5 or 6. She asked for more with an expectation that we should and would get what we needed. And we did, every time. Supervising me is no easy task. Where's Idisha? Hello. But as a boss, Judy was present and accessible. She was a model for open door policy. She relied on her skills as a therapist and her deep connection to others to steer her team. When I needed her, she was there. Sometimes I would sort of get myself in a little bit of hot water, say with some police officers who may have come to campus to assist us with a youth who might have struck a teacher. And Judy was, let's say, in the mountains somewhere, maybe Red River Gorge or at the Woolly Worm Festival in North Carolina, perhaps. I knew I had to call her and confess that I may have gotten upset with a police officer who was, in my opinion, saying unkind and untrue things about Maryhurst. I may have poked him a couple of times in the chest. I might have even said, you don't know anything about us. You don't know what you're talking about. But she understood my passion, my protectiveness of our kids and our agency. Telling her settled me. She validated my feelings and gave me good advice. Of course, that meant I had to go back and, rebuild the relationships with the police. Judy was our leader when the Sisters of Good Shepherd began looking at their agencies and assessing which ones had the leadership it would take to successfully continue the mission. For the agencies that could more than survive, but thrive without that direct ownership of the sisters. And with Judy at Maryhurst helm, we became the first agency to move from sister-operated to being overseen by a lay board and a CEO, Judy. Lastly, here we are. Why she is fearless, a rule breaker, persistent, commands respect, relies on relationships, a connector. Her love of the mission and commitment to those commitment to serve those in greatest need, those who no one else wanted. Judy started foster care, and independent living, and aftercare, and treasure home, and 5S. We became one of the first agencies in Kentucky to embrace the philosophy of trauma-informed care, thanks to partners, and many other services and programs, because no one else was willing or able to serve them, but Judy was. So, from St. Mary Euphrasia, our foundress, Judy was led by her vision. And so I'll end with a quote. We have the mission to welcome with open arms the most abandoned souls. There is no misery, no spiritual wound, however repulsive, that we should not try to cure with the help of grace. Love you.
Hello, dear Judy, and all who are part of the Maryhurst family. Warmest congratulations and appreciation on behalf of Good Shepherd Sisters and partners in mission across the province of Mid-North America and our worldwide Congregation of Our Lady of Charity of the Good Shepherd. We celebrate the naming of the Dorsey campus in your honor, Judy. You have blessed all of us and each life touched through the Good Shepherd mission at Maryhurst. You earned the trust of Good Shepherd Sisters over 30 years ago when you were named the first lay CEO of Maryhurst. You continued to deepen the trust and love of the sisters as they made the decision in 1998 to turn over ownership of Maryhurst to the board and your executive leadership. We are ever grateful, Judy, for you staying true to the Good Shepherd mission during your entire 30-year tenure as CEO, and for helping to mentor other Good Shepherd CEOs along the way. You continue to bless all of us and each life touched through the mission at Maryhurst. We thank you and bless you for sharing your shepherd's heart. May Jesus, the Good Shepherd, and St. Mary Euphrasia continue to bless you all the days of your life. We love you, Judy.
I cannot take too long introducing our next speaker, even though I could go on and on and on. Of all the people who have volunteered and presided over the Journey of Hope Luncheon, Madeline Abramson is not only our North Star, she is our stopwatch. Yes, we know. I'd be emceeing a Journey of Hope luncheon, and I'd see Madeline glance down at her watch, making sure that we were on time. She'd been through way too many overly long luncheons, and it would not happen to Maryhurst under Madeline's direction. That was her gift to our audience. Her gifts to Maryhurst include twice being chair of the board and now a board member for life. Madeline has been vital to this organization and to Judy through her leadership and her unwavering support. Madeline.
Thank you, Melissa. Melissa told me to speak up, so those of you near the front, if you feel as though I'm shouting at you, I apologize. But I want to tell you a little story about how I first came to Maryhurst. I know some of you have heard this, but because it's not a story about me. It's really a story about Judy and Maryhurst. About 25 years ago, I was asked to come take a tour of Maryhurst, and I told the person who invited me, I said, well, I'll go, but I'm not taking on any new commitments at this time. So I came out for the tour led by Judy, met Judy, her team, several of the young women living on our Dorsey Lane campus, and I knew I was where I needed to be. So for the past over 25 years, I've worked with Judy, and I've had the opportunity to watch Judy work with board members. And she's always built a culture of respect, of collaboration, of partnership. And some of those relationships with board members over the years have transformed into deep friendships. And I'm honored to say that I think that is our relationship, and I could see many board members and former board members nodding the same thing. It's been alluded to by Melissa, by Paula, that being the CEO of Maryhurst is not always an easy job, but Judy has certainly been there in good times and in bad, and always with the focus on the mission. She never asked the board members to make decisions that she didn't think were right for the young people and the families we serve. So the board members were always
followed her lead for the most part. And, and Judy has had, I think, tremendous board leadership, and certainly our current chair, Lisa Manning, again, who has led us through these difficult 2 years. So I think I can speak, I hope, on behalf of all of our board members and former board members who are here, that we cannot think of a more fitting honor than to name this the Lambeth campus, for Judy Lambeth, who has fulfilled her mission, in the words of St. Mary Euphrasia, with such zeal over the past years. So congratulations.
And our next speaker, Sadiqa Reynolds, is a very important figure to the progress of Louisville. She brings her legal experience to bear as president and CEO of the Louisville Urban League. She met Judy during her time practicing law and serving as a court-appointed guardian. She regularly speaks to the youth here at Maryhurst and in Maryhurst Care. And her relationship with Judy and the Maryhurst mission continues to grow. Sadiqa.
I am so honored to be here and to be a part of this celebration for Judy. I really am. I know there are lots of people in this community who love Judy and think very highly of you. Of all the people, I cannot believe that I've been invited to speak, because you mean so much to me. You really do. And it's not just because of how wonderful you are, but it's because of how passionate you have been always for the work. You have never wavered. You have been so consistent about how you love these kids and how you love this work. And I remember working in Frankfurt and just feeling the pressure of the world to know. I wanted to make sure always that Maryhurst had every dime they needed. I had nothing at all to do with the money, but I wanted to make sure that Judy had whatever she needed, because I knew how great this work was, and I knew how much these kids needed every single dime and needed your leadership. I have admiration for you. I have never seen you be flustered. I have never seen you even come across as disgruntled. I have never seen you with a hair out of place. You have, I've never. But I will tell you this. I will say this. We were at a meeting one day, and Judy and I, we were working the room. You're trying to make sure your organization is, going to be taking care of the things you care about are going to be important to people. And we were talking to some politician. I don't even remember who it was. And Judy, and he stepped away for a moment, and Judy said, "Oh, I like him. He's really nice." I said, "You do? I cannot stand him. I hate him." And she said, "Me either. I don't like him either." And I was like, finally, I felt such validation, because I thought this woman is unflappable. I mean, she loves everybody. She's good to everybody all the time. I really need to learn from her. And I do, and I will eventually. I'm going to do better in 2023. But Judy, you have been courageous. You have been smart. You have been strategic. You have been caring. You have been welcoming. You have invited, and whoever said you would not take no for an answer, exactly right. Because I was the keynote speaker for Maryhurst Luncheon once. I said, yes, I think I'll do that. Okay, yeah, sure, no problem. This is great. This speaks to my heart. And then I had my own nonprofit to run, right? And so then I get somebody says, "Oh, Maryhurst would like for you to be the keynote." I said, "Oh, I'm sure that's wrong, because I've already done it. I think you should go back." Maybe you didn't know I've already done it. And no, Judy called. "No, we would like for you to do it again." And I thought, again, what an honor to be in a position at the Urban League and be situated to still help Maryhurst. And I would do anything for Maryhurst. I love this place. I love the work. I love everything that happens on this campus. I love these kids. I love you, Judy. I have nothing but admiration and respect. And I don't know how you did it for so long. Because when you love this hard, it takes years off of your life. Believe me, I hope she lives to be 150, but if she does, she could have been 160 if she hadn't done this work. It is tough to give everything you have all the time, every day, and to constantly be on, to lose your private life, to really always be a public figure in the face of Maryhurst. That's what you've been, that's who you are. And I am so thankful to God that our paths crossed. I am so thankful that you trusted me to speak as you were leading, that you trusted me to help this organization, to help these wonderful girls that you have blessed so much. You are a gift to this world. And if you never do another thing, you have done enough. And it is the honor, it is such an honor to be here today with you. And I just, whoever was in charge of asking me, this means everything. Thank you so much. And Madeline, all of your commitment, all that you have done. I haven't been out here for anything that you haven't been here too. And I just cannot thank you all enough for what you are doing for children. It matters so much. And just the last thing I want to say, I love these kids, and I come out, and I haven't been here in a little while. And don't ask me, I don't want to come either because I got too much going on. I'm stressed. I can't love like this, but I fell in love with this little girl, this young lady. And for years, I've been lying about this story a little bit because I always say, I don't know how I found out, but I found out that she was in the hospital.
That's right.
And I've always told people, I don't know how I found out, but really, Judy had, Maryhurst called me and said, we know that you would want to know that Alicia is sick and that she's in the hospital. And I went to the hospital. And if there is anybody in this room, if you could understand how the staff of Maryhurst held the hand of a child as she died. When her parents, when they called the parents and the parents said, we don't want to remember her like that, so we won't come. That this team, that these people could do that. Whatever anybody at Maryhurst asks you to do, you have to do it. This is God's work. You are God's gift. I thank you for your leadership. I thank you for your friendship. I thank you for your service. I thank you for the example you have set for girls and for women to be tough, to be strong, to be unwavering, not to compromise when we know we are right. You are a hero. Thank you, Judy.
When the girls come here, this is a critical time in their lives. And I think that's why they remember. And I just think that to be able to make a difference and in their lives is the greatest opportunity in the world.
When I went into Maryhurst, I mean, I was totally confused, very confused child. I mean, I knew there were things I didn't want to be doing, but I didn't know anything else to do but what I was doing.
Jamie was my first girl that I was assigned as a student intern. We were walking around, and she had been at Maryhurst for a year already. And so we were walking, and she said, "So, I'm your guinea pig, aren't I?"
I'm sure I did say something in that form, you know, because she says, you're my first client, you know, and da-da-da-da. And I'm like, oh, right, okay, great, you know. But I was like a rebel without a cause, so anything to instigate, I guess. Before she came along, Maryhurst was, like I said, real strict, I mean, just you had a routine and you just did it. Seems like when she came along, it was doing things like going outside and talking or swinging on the swings together, or it seems like I climbed a tree one time.
I remember us cooking a lot and learning how to make things, you know, making bread, making turkey salad with grapes. So those kinds of things, you know, interacting like family.
Sherry's the fireball. Well, Jamie was too.
She didn't get bad and walk away from me saying, you know, you're making me look bad, which Judy could have done that because, I mean, I did everything. I mean, I fought with other girls and just anything that would push her away from me. The biggest part of my life is not feeling wanted by anybody. And Judy really brought that in to, no matter what you do, I'm going to want you.
Well, I think she's got that fine tuning, that sharp, you know, razor, I wouldn't say vision, but I want to say almost intuition of what we needed. Like, I needed someone to help me build my esteem. I think that's all I really needed. I think that's what she noticed. And I think she sees that in each individual girl. I think she's got that razor sharp ability to fine tune that and see, you know, what they're struggling with, but also what do they need to have? What are they starving from?
I can remember Judy walking through the mall and people staring at us because she was tall, you know, but Judy walked with pride, you know, it didn't bother her one bit. So when I seen that she could do things, I could do things, you know, because I was real timid. I felt like the world wasn't made for me, but watching her be so strong about just knowing herself and being strong about it made me realize that, hey, I can do this too. And I kind of set my life after her. I think I'm still doing it, helping people, that she helped people.
Judy's changed my life. I'll say that when I came to Maryhurst, I didn't know. Let's just say that when I went to Maryhurst originally as a teenager, I was wild and a runaway, and I was just running away from the world that was just moving too fast.
I have a bipolar daughter that I guess she was diagnosed when she was like 11. And I'd gone through different institutions and doctors and medication and everything, and we were like, we love each other when we're apart from each other, but we cannot be under the same roof. And it got bad, and I was scared for her because she was, you know, getting close to 18, and I wouldn't have any control over her. So I called Judy and talked to Judy, and Judy, because I knew there was a line to get in here, and I didn't know what it would take, and she said, "Don't worry about it. I'll take care of it for you." And my daughter came here, and she succeeded here. She came away from here with that sunshine. It's like Judy gives the sunshine out or something, you know. She didn't have all that anger she had when she came here. And I wasn't as worried about her because she was a cutter and suicidal and all kinds of different things. And she left Maryhurst. Those weren't problems with her anymore.
And Judy has saved my life. I mean, I'm not meaning that lightly. When I was going through a divorce as an adult, I at the time had been using Maryhurst. They were gracious enough to let some of the teenagers babysit my young children. And I remember my children were at her place. I was working at the University of Louisville Shelby campus teaching fitness. And I remember leaving the campus and going to pick up my children. At the time, I had a restraining order against my husband, who I was divorcing. I was a resident of the Spouse Abuse Center in downtown Louisville. And I was going to pick up my children at Maryhurst, where they were being babysat for that night. And my ex-husband chased me with a restraining order to Maryhurst. And I just remember at the time there's no cell phones. There's no way to really be safe in our world back then. I just remember driving my car as fast as I could down those hills on Dorsey Lane as fast as I could when I realized there was somebody behind me trying to hurt me. And I ran out when I pulled up to Maryhurst, and my kids were back in the dorm, so I already knew where my kids were, and I knew they were locked down and they were safe. But I ran out because I knew Judy's office was in the very front of the building at Maryhurst, and I ran up the steps as fast as I could. I'm also pulling in the driveway, honking and screaming, running up the steps as loud as I can to draw as much attention as I can, because these people, my ex-husband, or now my soon-to-be ex-husband, is chasing me in a car up the hill. And all I know was that when I come banging through the front doors of the office at Maryhurst, Judy ran out there. Her office was right there. And as I turned around, I was trying to run and kind of hide, being chased by my ex-husband. She locked the doors, and they were all right there banging on the door. Man, she literally saved my life that day.
Because I'd probably be dead. I would be dead. Because I didn't care. I didn't want to hurt nobody else. I never hurt anybody or damaged anybody's property. Well, it's like my daughter. I might as well have been a cutter, because I was just slowly destroying myself because I didn't know what else to do with it. And she kind of Judy came along and showed me that there's a better world out there than what I was living in.
Want to welcome up in just a couple of minutes our guest of honor, the reason we are all here tonight. When Judy Lambeth joined Maryhurst, we had just 75 employees and not much more than a single residential program. When she left, Maryhurst had grown to more than 300 employees, millions of dollars annually invested in kids in need, and programs that are making a difference and breaking the cycles of abuse in this Commonwealth. So please join me as we do a little bit of business. I want to invite up Paula and Lisa Manning for the unveiling and dedication of some important signs and gifts. And then after we make all of this official, we will hear from Judy.
Okay, so we have here is the largest sign that we will have at the entrance.
Any notes?
Okay, and then we've got this special sign, and Lisa's going to read for us what's on it, but this will be in our front building. And
and the sign reads, on April 14th, 2022, Maryhurst proudly dedicates this campus in honor of Judy A. Lambeth, who worked at Maryhurst for 46 years, serving as president and CEO from 1990 until her retirement in 2020. Entrusted by the Sisters of the Good Shepherd to carry on their mission of caring for children and families in greatest need. Judy helped Maryhurst gain national prominence as a multi-service agency serving children and families from every corner of Kentucky. During Judy's tenure, she helped transform the child welfare system in Kentucky, bringing innovative treatment and programs to our Commonwealth. We will forever be grateful for her vision and leadership.
And just real quick, I want to say we will have one additional sign that will go down in the orchard. So that's down by the butterfly garden for those of you who are familiar with our agency.
And the orchard, it's the Lambeth orchard. And Judy and her sister Donna and her sister Linda created that orchard to recognize their parents, Charles and Anne. Judy has spoken many times about how her family was the foundation and is the reason why she wanted to do this work and has continued to be that foundation and that support for her. So that's a very special dedication as well. Now it's your turn.
Okay. I didn't know if you wanted me to turn sideways. Well, I do have notes, but I'm hoping I don't use them. Gosh, what do I say? You know, I'm very humble, but this is an incredible honor to be here and for the campus to be named the Lambeth campus. You know, I think it is about me, but I think it's about my parents, my sister, my family, you know, my family. Because I was very, unlike our kids at Maryhurst, I really had a family that delighted in their children. And I think that did help give us the foundation to be able to give back. And I had my older sister passed away just recently in the last year or so, and but she was in education. My sister here was in education, so I think our parents did a good job to sort of give back. I want to thank all of you that are here. You know, it's just, you know, it really means a lot, and to, you know, that you came here and to show up for Maryhurst and for this unveiling. Gosh, I really don't usually have a hard time talking, do I? You know, I'm grateful for my family that's here, Connor, my grandson, Kayla, and they're expecting in June, and I'm very excited, and my sister, and my dear friends who traveled from North Carolina and Georgia. They were on national boards with me, and then through the years, we became dear friends, and they come up here, and we have a great time, and we go to the Candle, to Christine and Sadita, Maddox and Rose. Thank you. I want to thank the speakers, you know, for all that you said. For Melissa, always the best in terms of MC, Sadiqa. You know, you all, everybody here means a lot to me, you know, and for the many ways that my life is, you know, we've passed through and touched each other. You know, there was a saying once that, I can never be the same, you can never be the same because our paths crossed. And I think that's true. And I think in very unique ways, you know, our knowledge of each other, our friendships change us, and for the better. The first day I stepped on the old campus at Maryhurst on Bank Street in Portland, I knew it was a special place. And I was a student intern. I didn't know anything. The first day I was waiting for the kids to get out of school, and they had this big living room. And I sat down, and I was scared to death. It was my first, day of field placement, and all of a sudden, Sister Brenda comes in her door, and a dog comes running at me and sort of right in my face, a part German Shepherd. And that was my introduction to Maryhurst, and I'm surprised I didn't leave. But it was a special place, and you felt it. The Sisters of the Good Shepherd, who started this work many, many years ago, with that mission of serving the most marginal. They weren't teachers; they were social workers. And the foundress, Mary Frazier, you've heard quotes from her. I mean, that's our mission here, and that's what makes this a special place. And the sisters nurtured me; they gave me an opportunity to be the CEO, and to entrust that they turned the ownership of Maryhurst over to our board of directors, and they're still involved with us today like they were before. And I think that says a lot about our board and how we've carried on the mission here. I knew that this was where I wanted to be, even though they put me on a 1-year contract the first year. I don't know. I guess they thought I was going to leave or something. Frederick Buechner is a modern theologian, and he talks about where the place God calls you. The place, and what he says is the place where it's the place where my deepest joy and the world's greatest need intersect. And that for me has always been Maryhurst. I think that's where you are now, Sadiqa. And I think that's where my passion comes. It is something I believe I was called to do. And this is, somebody said this, but our parents were incredible, and they nurtured us. And my poor dad had 3 girls, but I never felt like that we couldn't do anything that we wanted to do. And that goes to a part of a scripture from Luke that says, "To whom much is given, much is required," and that is true, And that's us here in this room. And I see so many of my colleagues, and that give every day, giving to the child welfare system and making a difference in the lives of kids in this Commonwealth. I loved almost every minute of my time at Maryhurst. I mean, I did, and I was 40, almost, it's just a couple of months from 46 years. And I just can't believe I was here, and then time went by so fast. But it was incredible. I loved that we grew. I loved the people I worked with. And, we did it together, along with our board of directors. And I'm telling you, there were a few years, I'm looking at Steve Sedita and Madeline and, where's David Burks, those that have been around for a little bit longer, who they came to every meeting, and it really wasn't fun. It wasn't. I mean, the work we did was inspiring, but the economic, the funding was such that it was hard to do. And Maryhurst, there was a point at which our bank, which I won't name, refused to extend our line of credit. And part of it's because we were so far in it, and our reserves at the time only was so much, and so they walked away. Well, what do? You can't do payroll. You can't. I mean, that was really one of my lowest points. And thank goodness Stockyard Banks, and the sisters then mortgaged. Gave us the rest of the property. We were paying it off, and they gave us the deed, and then Stockyard Bank stepped up and helped us mortgage the property, or we wouldn't have gone on. And so those are some of our tough times, and those were the times that our board members said, okay, let's do it. And they always supported me. They always supported the staff. They were always here for the right reasons. And I can't thank you enough for that, because that's sort of the behind the scenes, the board for, what really sustains an agency is our staff and our board members so that we can do the work. I am deeply grateful for this honor. I could go on and on. I could tell some stories I probably shouldn't tell, and I am a rule breaker. Not bad, but you can't stop. When the need is there for a child, even if the state says we can't do this for this child, you have to fight it. You have to fight it. We can never say no in helping a child or getting in funding, or, we just have to be able, we have to, overcome all the obstacles. One of the things I'll say about Marcia is through the years, and we did work together, we did fight. Oh my gosh, when we started doing what they called SED kids, and we were here day and night, and severely emotionally disturbed. This was years ago. And, we were here, but Marcia was always the person that I knew if I need somebody to take the hill, to lead the troops, to take the hill, Yeah, forget the police. This was before the police incident. Yeah, after the police incident, I don't know that I would have. No, I would have. But she would take the hill for this agency and for our mission, because every person here, all the leaders here, are not here for themselves. They're here for the mission. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And so now many of you who maybe have not been in this room so much understand why people who get involved with Maryhurst are often involved with Maryhurst for decades. It's not something you leave easily. It gets in your heart. And Judy got in our hearts. And we all love you. And we cannot, as I said at the very beginning, say enough about Judy. And I'm just sitting over there thinking, all right, everyone take everything you've heard tonight and all of the people you know and tell them Maryhurst needs you. Maryhurst needs donors. Maryhurst, I wasn't supposed to give a pitch, but I'm going to give a pitch anyway. We're always looking. We're always fighting. We're always trying to do the best. So if you're out there and you have anybody's ear, please, please tell them more about Maryhurst and the people who love Maryhurst so much and the Lambeth campus. I ask you all to stay to enjoy all the wonderful food, and I know you'll want to congratulate the person this campus is now named for. Thank you all.